Hey, good morning. I wanted to share with you today. Um, well, no, I'd realized lately that I spend far more time watching other people craft on YouTube and not doing so much crafting myself. Um, it's a very easy rabbit hole to fall down. But decided to make a conscious effort on the videos that really inspire me to give them a go, to replicate them, uh, not completely copy them, but use them definitely as a starting point to jump off from and see what I came up with. And I thought it might be nice to share. So I'm starting with this one. The lady is Nina Ribena, and the video is Vintage ATC's July Week 3 calendar page from July 2019. I will put a link down below for you to go and have a look at it. And I really like the simplicity of how these turned out, but also the fact that I was able to use a lot of things I already had in my stash. And masculine cards. Who doesn't need more masculine cards? I think we all know that. So the premise is that you take a piece of cardstock and you actually paint onto the back. Now, some of these I did with an ink pad into the browns, and then these ones I had a little bit of... actually, I think I also did these with distress ink on the back. You then layer over, glue over some tissue paper. I've got all sorts of bits of tissue paper, so I was just using up scraps. I'm not 100% sure where these came from. I do have the Tim Holtz Postal, don't know, and then the Melange. Partly maybe came from this one I'm not so sure. I do generally, if I see some interesting tissue paper sort of on my travels round, I do always pick it up, and I think one of these came from a different source, but I can't tell you off the top of my head. Because what I do when I start using things and then have bits left over, I just put them into a little box here. So this is always my first point of call when I'm looking for tissue paper, to use the scraps up first. So anyway. So yeah, I painted onto some white cardstock. These two were white cardstock. These two were craft cardstock. So I'd inked those, sorry, not painted. And then just with some, with a Pritt stick, a glue stick, I just glued the tissue paper over. Smoothed it all down with a bone folder, let it dry. And then carried on. I did then layer up with some washi tapes. Again, I have a whole box of washi tapes and bits and pieces. Some of them are Tim Holtz. Again, I generally just pick stuff up as I find it and I think it's cute, and then store it and never use it again. So this was one of the pleasures of this, was that I was actually pulling stuff out that I hadn't used for quite some time. I think we all understand that. I did have the Tim Holtz paper dolls. And because I was going for a slightly larger size than the ATCs, that was quite good, because some of these are quite large, because I wanted to turn them into cards. I like the premise of the ATC and the size, but I must be honest, cards are generally my thing, and people will often come to me for cards. So my preference... So my preference is always actually to do cards, and as I said, always mail cards, always a help. I did sort of go around with a blending tool, around the edges, around the guys. I actually went round with a very old, let me grab it, there we go. I have some really old Marvy Le Plume pens, and I have a lot of the ones that I have are sort of brown, grey, dark grey, and I always have one of these on hand, and it is, well, this one doesn't look too bad, they are quite old and battered, and I do like to run around the edge of things, sort of like this, because the white edge shows up sort of very starkly, particularly on items like this. I did also run round, did a little bit of shading with Tim Holtz distress pens as well, just to sort of give them a little bit of something extra, bit of extra shading around them. Yeah, some washi tape. I had a couple of tickets on my desk that I just used to have this guy sit down on. This was the same as what Nina did with hers, and it definitely makes a difference because he doesn't look like he's just floating in midair. And then I just added some words. So I have a selection of the Tim Holtz ideology, small talk occasions, snarky. I love them. They're super handy. I have them in my trolley by the side of my table, so they're always the easiest thing to grab. And and I like to layer things up as well. So I found some cardstock that kind of coordinated quite nicely with the guys. And then I always go for a lot of black and white. So I layered everything up. And that's it. And I'm really happy with how these turned out. And it was quite a pleasant afternoon, just, playing away. And I used up scraps, always happy. And I got 4 masculine cards out of it. So I really recommend you to go over and have a look at Nina's channel. Have a look at this video, because obviously she takes you through all the steps. So that's sort of better than me just talking about it. But yeah, have a look and see and give it a go. They really came out well, I think. So here, I'll give you a closer look of each one. And there you go. I hope you like them, and I hope you also feel inspired to go over to Nina's channel and find a video and have a go. So take care. Bye.